If you take a look at those lists of the country's richest people, only a handful of them are women, and only a handful of those have actually made the money themselves, and that's not a sexist common fact. So what gives? Do Australian women have better things to do with their time than making money? Or does the old testosterone kick in and blokes indulge in the odd bit of financial bullying and thuggery? Well, one Australian woman qualified to answer that question is Julia Ross. As a self-made businesswoman with multi-millions in the bank, Julia took on the male-dominated Australian business world and won. Here's David Adams.
Julia Ross is very rich. According to the financial press, her personal wealth stands around $75 million, $25 million more than at this time last year. When she makes another $10 million, she'll graduate to the BRW Top 200 Rich list. She'll join 17 other women, but only a handful are self-made multimillionaires, and none of them can claim that their wealth came from unemployment, a failed marriage, and impending motherhood.
I worked for a person that I didn't really respect, and eventually we had a falling out, and at the same time, unfortunately, my marriage wasn't really panning out to be what I expected. So with no job and no house, so nowhere to live, no husband, and pregnant, so no one was going to give me a sort of senior role. So yes, that was a very difficult time.
Welcome to Julia Ross, this is Holly speaking.
But it was a time that sowed the seed that blossomed into this, Julia Ross Recruitment. One of the largest recruitment agencies in the country, provides temporary and permanent staff to businesses, and last year recorded a turnover of over $150 million. When the company went public in 2000, Julia's 54% holding earned her an immediate $26 million. Not bad for an operation that was launched 13 years ago with a bankroll of about $100,000.
I didn't really want to make millions, and I didn't have that in my mind at the time. It was just enough for James to have a nice home and go to a good, I suppose, make him proud of his mother.
That's it. Twist of the waist.
And Julia has a lot to be proud about, but she still has to fight all the way. As a foreign-born entrepreneur, she's still an outsider in Australian business. None of the old-school Thai connections for her. She's gone it alone. And she felt very alone on the night she listed on the Australian Stock Exchange.
People talk about me going into business and being pregnant and all that part of my life being difficult. I would say that listing exchange was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. It was very traumatic to be standing with all of my staff and my board and down at the stock exchange, and my son even, friends, you know, everyone there, seeing it come up onto the board in the exchange, and then to see it trade down was very upsetting and very scary to see that happening and your name up there and, you know, being exposed to that was very, very stressful. It was a particularly stressful time in my life. And something that takes a long time to get used to, the fact that you have no control over.
Australia is still a male-dominated community, business community. I don't know too many examples, male or that have been able to build a business at the size that she has from zero.
Julia has proved her equality with men in a multi-million-dollar way. But that raises an obvious question. Has it been worth it?
I get very little kick of having money. It's not a thing for me. It's nice, obviously, to feel that you can do things that perhaps, you know, you'd like to do, but it certainly doesn't bring the things that, I suppose, earlier in my life I might have thought it would bring. It doesn't bring security. Over this last few years I've had lost two sisters from terminal illness, which I suppose has taught me that, you know, health is really the only thing we have, and money really has no capacity to help you overcome that or get good health. So in a lot of ways there is no security, and really at the end of the can be taken away. You know, something dreadful could happen. I mean, who the hell knows? We can make bad business decisions, bad investment decisions. Share market can crash, anything can happen. So, no, there's no security with money at all, really. It all can be taken away for one reason or another. So, in some respects, of all the things, accepting that has made me more powerful than anything else, because that's brought out an inner confidence, an inner power that I could go out and look after myself without the money. So I've sort of grown through the money in respect. I think that we spend our younger years trying to make money, and then when we've got some, we realise it's what it's all made out to be. So that's been more powerful for me than anything, really, realising that money is not power.
Rags to riches and all that. Interesting that Julia, worth a mere $7 million, has come to the conclusion that money can't buy security and that health and family are also pretty important.